Post-COVID era, the removal of the mask is so symbolic to the ending of this era. Now we can breathe. I thought it was unique how each mask was a fashion statement. And I thought it was a representation of taking back that era and making it your own statement of expression. I felt that through every frame of this piece and every mask that we saw. It was all of a sudden like, I'm taking this part of my life, which was a really hard era in everyone's life, a really hard 2 to 3 years, and I'm making it my own, and I'm choosing to turn it into something beautiful instead of focusing on all the bad. And I just thought that was such a really powerful statement.
All right, I just finished watching post COVID-19 era. I ended up enjoying this piece. I thought it had a really great sense of style. Obviously, the Travis Scott record at the core of it was used quite well. I thought that the piece had a really great sense of editing that allowed the sort of mass conceit to work in an interesting way as she moved through all the setups. So obviously there was a great sense of production design, a great sense of costume design. I thought really helped contribute to why the piece worked so well. And I thought that it ended up having a really great sort of meditation on like repurposing something bad happening or repurposing the idea of a certain mode and transcending that idea and pushing past it to create a post construct, which I thought was a very smart artistic approach, both thematically and stylistically. So I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the editing in particular, and the costume design was very strong. So I thought it was a well designed and well constructed piece that had a good sense of attention to detail that I thought really contributed to why it worked for me. So it was a good piece for me overall.
I thought this was a really interesting approach of using fashion in the outdoor world in masks. It was really artistic, and I think it served as an interesting reflection of the impact of the pandemic on style and fashion and even the world in some ways, as the masks represented different issues that came up during the pandemic. It was a really interesting and creative approach to this period in time.
I really liked post COVID-19 era. Um, I don't like actual post COVID-19 era, but the video itself, I definitely enjoyed. It was very much, I liked the song choice, and I feel like it was a good way of expressing a lot of that, how much COVID really has affected the world. Just how you can tell, just even from the costuming, you could tell that a lot of the imagery of the face masks and just how much we had to change because of this pandemic. Because I feel like even though it's essentially been 3 years now, um, you really do still feel the effects of COVID and what it left on the world. It's very surreal to think about the fact that it's been 3 years. Uh, but all in all, this was definitely a very good symbolic piece, just expressing what this pandemic, how this pandemic shaped society. Uh, and yeah, I very much enjoyed it.
Post COVID-19 era was really interesting to watch. I think it was an interesting view of how society we really have changed because of the pandemic, and we're still affected by it. So I guess we aren't fully in a post COVID-19 era, but we're still definitely seeing we're different than what it was. We're better than what it was, but the effects are still really there and poignant. And I think you address that in every bit of this. I think the way you scored it, the way the action throughout it, and the way people behave. I think the way people dressed, the set dressing, like all of it. It was very. It makes the audience more introspective about like what has this pandemic really done to us, and are we in this post COVID-19 era? What does that look like, and how are we still discovering it? So overall, I think it was a really interesting watch, and really cohesive and just really really well done.
A good use of a location and a way to break up the looks on camera to give their showcase and spotlight. A more artistic approach, we get a good mix of shots between that and the editing. The masks indicate the central theme of the fashion film. The masks are creative, fun, gritty, fashionable, a good use of black space, and using these experimental artistic shots to make our model be the center of attention. That is Rihanna that I hear playing this in the background as the soundtrack, and you know that she's more than capable of setting a tone well.
This was such a sharp concept. The mix of footage I thought was really effective. You have this, it was effective and it was unusual, I guess, in the best way. You have this sort of avant-garde kind of look and feel, but then it also has this vintage quality about it through some of the either actually shot on film or post-process to appear as such footage. Just it was a really great contrast between the two. I thought it was used really effectively for such a sort of high art piece. And even more with the contrast is you have this sort of calm and enticing sort of movements. Feels very fashion forward, sort of catwalkish. And then you have this more high energy kind of music. I thought those two actually made a great contrast. It was just a really strong and interesting piece to watch. I enjoyed it.